Okay, let's try it as a test. I just hope I'm not gonna hear that repeat. So let's try it. Let's try it. I don't hear repeat. I don't hear repeat. Do you guys hear me repeat myself over and over and over again? No? Oh my God, what a relief. Okay, well, let's start it all over again. And we just lost 6 minutes. I apologize, but I do think people are saying no echo. People saying you're breaking up, but I hope that's not the case. Maybe it's just my accent. I am so sorry for this, but I think that we are now on a track. And again, I'm Marta Wójcik. I'm with the Westcott House and here in Springfield, Ohio, and we welcome you to Wright Sites and PechaKucha Volume 7. This is a collaboration between Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy and PechaKucha based in Tokyo. So I would like to go to the next slide and the next slide, and then you're going to see who are the organizers. And we will introduce them, and they're going to say a few words about their own organization. So Eric and Brian, if you could come on video, and we're gonna stop sharing slideshow for a second so you can say hi to us and
Hey, Marta.
confirm with people as they don't know yet that we are live.
Let's do it live.
Exactly what
We're
happened. You
real.
are live.
This
Ah,
wouldn't be PechaKucha night without a few technical glitches. That's the way it goes. We'll
It's
edit this part out. Hey, it's
part,
great to have the team back together. Great to get the band rolling again. Good to see everybody. Hello, Marta from Tokyo. Hey, Eric.
hey.
whoa, it's so hard to believe that this is the seventh time we've done this.
It's
Maybe the
amazing.
eighth time we'll get everything right.
There's hope to that. Well, so Eric is on Central Time, and Brian is in
Tokyo
Japan.
time,
So
coffee
it's
time.
what? It's probably getting close to shortly after 9 in the morning. So beer break does not apply to you, Brian. Okay, well, so why don't we say a few words about our organizations? We actually have slides to share just a very brief introduction for those of you who are new. So if we could see the slides. As you know, this edition of the PechaKucha will focus somewhat heavily on the Westcott House because it's a very special project in the context of collaboration with the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. And of course, we are tempted because it's 20 years of the house since opening to the public. And PechaKucha is all about 20 times 20, so it all makes perfect sense. More than 20 years ago, Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy got involved, and the organization saved the Westcott House along with the local community, and we opened to the public in 2005. Now, our mission is really, I believe, quite a wonderful mission because, of course, by the nature of being caretakers of this precious artifact, we preserve and interpret Frank Lloyd Wright's Westcott House, but we also serve as catalysts for creativity, inspiration, and experimentation. It's really important to us that we make it a living house. As those photos can attest, we do a lot of activities with people of all ages, and it's a true joy to kind of look back at 20 years of doing just that. So let's go to Eric, and he will share some thoughts on Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy.
Yeah, well, again, it's really a pleasure to be doing this. It's hard to believe that we did it for the first time in 2020, and it's just kind of kept up great momentum since then. But I'm here on behalf of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. And of course, we're very proud to be able to point to the Westcott House as a success story for our organization, although we can't take any credit for the amazing things that Marta has done since she took over. That's all you, Marta. But our organization, you're seeing our mission here on the screen, which is to facilitate the preservation and stewardship of the remaining built works designed by Frank Lloyd Wright through advocacy, education, and technical services. And you're seeing a couple of other sly things here on this slide, or perhaps not too subtle. One of them is one of our major preservation success stories of the most recent couple of years, which is the Price Tower in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, where we successfully have defended our preservation easement on the building and helped transition it to new ownership that hope to reopen it in 2027. So we're really happy about that, although we've got a lot of other irons in the fire. The other thing that is perhaps a little more subtle on this slide, unless you already know us well, is that this is really the first public use of our new visual identity. We have a new logo and new branding, and this is the very first slide that anyone is ever seeing that has that. So really proud of that. It's been a busy week getting that launched. If you'll go to the next slide, just really briefly. Of course, education is a pillar of our mission. We love online events like this one. Our next online event will be on February 4th, and it'll actually be an exploration of the development of our new visual identity. So if you're really a design nerd, I encourage you to join for that event and really look under the hood of that development of our new look. But when it comes to Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings, we think there's no substitute for having an in-person experience. And so I really encourage you, if you are so inclined, our spring tour event will be in St. Louis I got the date wrong on the slide there. All right, that's our second error for PechaKucha tonight, May 1 through 3,
May
2026. Yeah, I encourage anyone who wants to join us for events or tours, check out our website, saveright.org. And with that, I will turn it over to Brian to tell us a little bit about PechaKucha.
Yes, Oklahoma represent. I'm so happy to see the Price Tower here. I'm originally from Oklahoma. I've been in Tokyo since 2004, and I've been with these yahoos at PechaKucha just about as long. PechaKucha, if anybody doesn't know, is Japanese. It's the sound of chit chat in Japanese, and it was started by a pair of architects here in Tokyo, Mark Ditham and Astrid Klein of Klein Ditham Architecture. And what started off as a one-off event here at a live house in Tokyo became a worldwide phenomenon. And because of its architecture DNA, that's why you'll find a lot of architects running various PechaKucha Night series around the world. The idea is architects go on entirely too long about their projects. So we made a time box format, 20 images that advance every 20 seconds. You guys probably know all about it. And it's just been a really wonderful way to share the world's creativity. And this is something, a great use of the format, and we look forward to this every year. It's such a great collaboration. We're so proud to be in cahoots with the Frank Lloyd Wright friends and family. So I want to encourage everybody to go check out PechaKucha.com. You can see an entire archive of our past six Wright Site events. There's heaps of Frank Lloyd Wright knowledge on the website, and we're just so happy that we get to archive so much of this here. So after this event is over, we will record and upload all of these presentations to the website. So for anybody who missed the live stream, you'll be able to go back and watch it. So thank you very much, everybody. I know PechaKucha is like a challenge, but I promise by the time this is over, we'll all see the light. Oh, I get it. It's fun. It's easy. I promise. I promise. Once it's all over. So with that, thank you so much, Marta. It's great here's to the next 7 events. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
thank
let's
you.
get 20.
Thank you. Thank you both. Yes, yes, absolutely. And so let's go to the next slide. And it's time to introduce our speakers for tonight. So at this time, for one brief moment, if we could ask every speaker to turn on their video and their audio on, and we're going to stop sharing slides so people can see you really well. We just want a brief moment to get everyone situated and say hi. Kevin, if you can stop sharing the slide, I think I think we want to or not. Yeah, we are here. We are all here. Thank you, thank you. So
Hi.
you will hear directly from all these wonderful people, but we just want to take a moment to thank you for being here, for willing to do this live, and for willing to work with this format because it's very unique. We have just incredible points of views, incredible personal stories. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, thank you.
Cheers to us
So
all.
we are again every speaker also they scattered all around the country, so they're joining us from different locations. So again, thank you, and we'll go back to the slideshow, and I want to give people a little bit of information on what to expect. So we're gonna go to the first presentation, and we're gonna go through 3 talks. And after 3 talks, we're going to take a little break to answer some questions and cheer people on. And then we're going to continue with 4 more presentations. If you when you listen to the presentation, if you have any question for a specific speaker, please feel free to put the question in the chat, or better yet in Q&A, so we can keep an eye on those questions. And hopefully, if time allows, we're going to ask those questions on the broadcast. So let's go to our first speaker. I'm so thrilled to have Melissa here to open the night. We connected last year on a special occasion of, guess what, 20 years of the Westcott House being open to the public. Melissa was our guest of honor for the gala. And I have a brief introduction. She deserves much, much more. But since we're going to honor PechaKucha and its short format, I'm going to just take a quick moment to say a few things about Melissa, and then I will let her present. So Melissa Gold is a business strategist and marketing consultant with deep roots in American design, as the great-granddaughter of iconic architect Frank Lloyd Wright. As a speaker and advocate, she shares his enduring legacy while championing the preservation, restoration, and celebration of his architectural masterpieces. Melissa is passionate about honoring Wright's vision and protecting his work as a vital part of America's cultural heritage. Thank you, Melissa, for being here. We are so grateful. And whenever you're ready, we're going to start.
My pleasure, Marta. It really is an honor, and I'm excited to get started.
All right, I'm going to turn off my camera, and here we go.
Architecture is the triumph of human imagination over materials, methods, and men, to put man into possession of his own earth. That was the vision, dream, and goal of my great-grandfather, Frank Lloyd Wright. And this is the rest of his story, so to speak. He was more than an architect. He was an extraordinary mentor. He was a senior statesman. He was an inspired leader, and he was a prolific author, penning 12 volumes of his own autobiography. He was also said to be America's greatest architect by the American Institute of Architects. He was a project manager. He was also an educator and an inspirer of his craftsmen and his contractors, because he was so far ahead of the tools and techniques of the day that they had to create new tools and new techniques to bring his visions to life. He was also a husband and a father. He had a first family at age 22, married to Catherine Tobin, and my grandmother Catherine was a part of that. And a second family at age 57, when he married Olga Vanna, adopted her daughter, and they had another daughter between them. The first and second families don't speak. In this trio of images, you'll see great-grandfather with his daughter Catherine and her daughter, my mother, the late Oscar-winning actress Ann Baxter. My mother with great-grandfather on the red carpet, and my mother with great-grandfather admiring each other's creative passions and pursuits. And this is the home and studio in Oak Park, Illinois. What I love most about this is it still shows the Victorian influence with that peaked gable of the house, and yet the studio right next door is so clearly a more modern and prairie influenced design. We have the playroom where his children, those six, my grandmother included, would play and have lessons inspired by the organic materials, the arch, and the artwork. And then the apprentices would be working in the studio with those wonderful orbs of light that remind me of moons hanging about. Give me the luxuries of life, and I will willingly do without the necessities. And great grandfather did. He was not a good businessman. He was regularly in debt. And when his clients would send payments, instead of applying them to his creditors, he would go off and indulge in his love of cars, Japanese woodblock prints, and more. This is his winter home in the desert, Taliesin West. Taliesin means shining brow, brow of the hill. And that is where this is placed. I live in Scottsdale, so I have the privilege of seeing this quite often. And as a family, we used to come out to the Moon Terrace and meet with our cousins, more Wright descendants, for Thanksgivings. I thought it was normal. I had no idea great-grandfather was significant until I was aged 30 in design school, my second college degree, and he was popping up in my textbooks. It was that famous mother that kind of overshadowed. This is Taliesin East. I've been just once for a family reunion in my early 20s. Mother is buried across the street, and great-grandfather was as well until he was exhumed and moved to be near Olgavana per her wishes. There's a wonderful room I'm going to share with you here that has all of his favorite elements. The stonework, the glass that actually doubles as water and elements, the wood and the fire element coming from the amazing floor lamp, a licensed version. I love this. And it brings the outdoors truly inside. I never design a building before I've seen the site and met the people who will be using it. Well, in this case, I'm about to show you, he already knew the people. It was his son, David, and David's wife, Gladys. And Gladys outlived David by a number of years, getting to 108 in Scottsdale, in this home, independently, with my cousins checking on her from time to time. It is a wonderful marvel of architecture, particularly suited for the desert, with the concrete block so well insulating from the extreme heat, and that deep eave leaning over and shadowing the room that we all used to spend time in when we were visiting. You could curl up and read a book, have conversation, enjoy entertainment with the piano and singing, play board games, or even have a meal. It was truly a multi-purpose room. And my favorite part, that ceiling. It's amazing, isn't it? I believe in God, only I spell it nature. Probably his most well-known quote. And I think most often people think of falling water. Well, I'm not going to show you falling water. I'm going to show you another favorite of mine that is too often not as well known. And that's the Meyer May House in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Formerly owned by Steelcase, apparently a little uncertain in its future, but I worked for a Steelcase dealership and architectural firm in Birmingham, Alabama, which is how I got to see the house many, many years ago. And a phenomenal example of great-grandfather's prairie-style architecture. I love the art glass here and the architectural millwork, all in oak, that frames and defines this space so well and informs the furnishings that he also, of course, designed. And then my favorite fireplace. This is in the Meyer May House, and the dichroic glass that looks like sparkling water sandwiched between the brick with the stone and the fire that would have been beneath, surrounded by air. Again, we have all of our elements, including the wood, all here together. Now, I want to wrap this up with a motivation from great-grandfather. You have to go wholeheartedly into anything in order to achieve anything worth having. And he certainly did. And now it's your turn. You are his living legacy. And for that, I am deeply grateful. Thank you.
Wow. Melissa, is this your first PechaKucha? I
Yes, but you have no idea how many rehearsals I did of this.
Oh my goodness. You are a pro, but you are a speaker, so you got this. Thank you. This was amazing. What a great way to start the event.
It was a
Thank you for
privilege.
being here. And if you can stick around for a couple more presentations, then we're
Be
gonna
delighted to. Be
answer some
delighted to.
questions and get together with everyone else. So I'm just so grateful. Thank you. We are going to move to Carrie Rasikas. And if Carrie could come on, thank you for being here. And I'm going to start with a quick introduction. So, throughout their multi-decade career, director Carrie Rasikas and producer Lisa Maury have produced hundreds of films for major corporations, institutions, and organizations. They filmed governors, Nobel laureates, CEOs, billionaires, artists, actors, kids, and dogs, and have worked around the world and in local backyards. In collaboration with colleagues across the country, their body of work ranges from web clips to TV commercials, 30-minute documentaries, and hour-long television specials produced over timelines of weeks to years. And Carrie is here because he and Lisa produced an amazing documentary for the Westcott House, capturing some of the most crucial moments of the restoration during 2001 to 2005 restoration project. Carrie, thank you for being here, and let us know when you're ready to start.
I'm ready. I'm happy to be here, and thanks for inviting us.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to turn off my video, and here we go.
We've all seen those photos of explorers and voyagers before they embark on a challenging journey. This was ours. Taken in June of 2001, it marked the start of our 5-year trek. But actually, the story began over a decade earlier. Back then, we made a film about Frank Lloyd Wright's Meyer May House in our hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Meyer May was a 2-year top to bottom museum quality restoration completed in 1987. 13 years later, we got a call from the Westcott House Foundation. Meyer May and Westcott were similar, both prairie-style homes, sadly diminished by age, weather, and modifications. But Meyer May had been only 5 minutes from our studio. Westcott in Springfield, Ohio was over 5 hours away and projected to take 5 years to complete. At our first location scout, we saw why it would take 5 years to restore this house. Everywhere you looked, every single thing needed help. This is producer Lisa in front of the house. We joked about how old we'd be when this project would be finished. We took countless before photos of every area of the house, inside and out, taped them together and pinned them on tack boards back at our studio for constant reference, a kind of roadmap for what lay ahead. And with Westcott 5 hours away, we'd need some local help. And as luck would have it, we had recently filmed in nearby Dayton with Scott Winters and his Ohio-based crew. Scott is a talented docu-shooter, thinks like a filmmaker, was less than an hour away from Westcott, and was up for the long haul. But we also needed help right here in Springfield. We found that help with on-site project managers Matt Klein and Sean Beckwith, along with Rob Kearns from the Westcott House Foundation. They proved to be helpful in every way imaginable, from scheduling to story ideas, and we were in constant communication. The critical role of writer was entrusted to our longtime colleague, Alan Rosas. We collaborated with Alan on dozens of projects over the years, including the Meyer May documentary. So this was familiar ground and a welcome return to an architect Alan greatly admires. We began with defining clear design parameters for the film, things like budget, audience definition, and intended use. The budget was moderate and the audience general. Now, this was long before internet streaming, so the film would be distributed on VHS, DVD, and hopefully in a 30-minute PBS slot. With a general audience in mind, we'd pursue a storyline that would weave together three main themes: the restoration process, Wright's work and life during the period, and what was known and what we'd discover about the Westcott family. A viewer might ask why this restoration is so important. So we put Wright's work in context with other world-changing innovations of the times. We'd show the Westcott House as uniquely American, a prairie style that would revolutionize architectural design. A viewer might also wonder how a horizontal Frank Lloyd Wright house ended up in Springfield, a town of vertical Victorians. So we'd explore turn of the century Springfield and how a progressive businessman and his wife decided to commission the innovative Chicago-based architect. We would use a narrator to tell most of the story, simple and efficient. But we also wanted the voices of experts whose passion was the architecture, art, and history of the period. Midway through the restoration, a possibility emerged to include one expert with a very special perspective. We learned that Wright's grandson, Eric Lloyd Wright, would be in town for a light screens exhibition at our Grand Rapids Art Museum, one of only 5 exhibits held throughout the US. We saw an opportunity, pursued it, and ran into a brick wall of resistance from event organizers. Undaunted, producer Lisa Mulry navigated around that wall of resistance with a call to Eric's wife about an interview for this film. Within a few days, we were inside the Amberg house, just down the street from the Meyer May house, interviewing the gracious grandson of Frank Lloyd Wright. Throughout the 5-year restoration, we so appreciated the generosity and patience of the many highly skilled craftspeople and artisans who gave us their time and their detailed knowledge to help us make every shot count. For the film's finale, we wanted to gracefully move throughout the interior spaces, see artful light patterns streaming through windows, and show an elevated exterior view of Wright's vision. So we brought in a large crew, large equipment, and closed the street for complete control. 5 years, hours upon hours of videotape footage, dozens of script drafts. All of it had to be distilled into 30 minutes. That time limit was the taskmaster, sharpening focus, clarifying the story until only what mattered remained. All in all, we were thrilled to be chosen to tell this story, a daunting responsibility and a 5-year journey to show a national treasure being restored to the artist's original vision. Toward that end, no matter where you pointed the camera, all you saw was genius. In the film, Eric Lloyd Wright tells us that his grandfather would sometimes hide in the ceilings of his prairie-style homes during construction to overhear what people passing through would say. Frank, if you're up there now, everybody here loves what you've done. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. It's incredible, and I actually didn't hear the story about Eric and how you tried to reach and how you succeeded. And what a fabulous story! Because actually later he came back and he reconnected with us, and I think it was partly of that experience with working with you that he became aware of this restoration project. So.
Yeah. It was a very special time. Yeah, it was really great. He was so warm and so thoughtful and so willing and able to participate. It was real special.
Well, I'm so glad that we can share this story, and as everyone could see, the video was shared on PBS on a number of occasions, and that was also an incredible gift from you guys to have such quality product that share the story. And it's one of my favorite things about the tour of the Westcott House, to see people always react to the process of restoration, because this is like essential part of the Westcott identity, is that resilience and going back to how it looked before. So thank you. We'll reconnect after the next presentation. If we could have David come on, and I will introduce David. David has been an architect for over 35 years, with much of his career dedicated to historic preservation and adaptive reuse. He has been fortunate to work on the restoration of 4 state capitals and a great deal of civic architecture, including museums, courthouses, and landmarks, including the Westcott House, with Scully Caldwell Associates. David lives in Columbus, Ohio with his wife, Lisa. They are the parents of 3 and wranglers of 2 dogs. David works as a senior architect for the Ohio State University in the Office of Facilities Planning and Design. David, welcome. Thank you for sharing this very, very, it's just wonderful story, one of the most wonderful aspects of restoration of the house.
2 tough acts to follow. Really great presentations. But I'll see what I can do here.
Sounds great. I'm gonna go away and we're ready to start, right?
Okay. So the Wasmith portfolio drawing here, this was kind of my introduction to the Westcott House. But I sort of stalked the Westcott House, knowing that living in Columbus, we had a Wright House close by, and so this was kind of the beginning of my association with the Westcott House. And when we were lucky enough to get involved with the restoration, we got access to the whole portfolio of drawings in the Wright archive. And this drawing really leapt out to me. And this is the drawing for the birdhouse. And my immediate feeling was we wanted to somehow involve the birdhouse in the restoration. And this is a unique drawing. There's some humor here, where the drafting humor of some draftsman who sort of makes it into a temple on the right hand side of your screen. But this leaves a lot to the imagination. The drawing's damaged. And then we also had the problem of we didn't have prima facie evidence that the birdhouse was ever built. Early photographs and photographs from the period of construction were very, very few and far between. We only had about 3 photographs of the house at the time. This is actually from the 1920s. The birdhouse isn't here. So we had to construct a case. We had to examine whether it was right or not to put the birdhouse back in place. Ultimately, we decided we would. But it was really with a lot of back and forth and discussion about how do we interpret this drawing relative to the house, and base what we were doing on research, on our understanding of the physical premises, and what we were learning about the house as we were documenting it. We knew that when you looked at the drawings from the archive, even, there were a lot of things that the drawings showed that simply were never built that way. And this corner of the house, where the pergola and the house intersect, is one example. The house preceded the garage, but the garage was anticipated the whole time. This drawing doesn't show any connection between the two. Neither does the drawing for the garage. They both sort of ignore each other. This drawing sort of labels existing building and existing pier here, but it doesn't really show how the two things are resolved. So that was sort of a question of how these two things came together that we had to kind of unpack based on examining the physical evidence and getting to know things. This drawing in particular, this is the elevation of the entryway. And one thing that I'll point out right in the center of the drawing is the pier that's by the front door goes all the way up to the eave of the first floor windows. It goes right to the head of the window. And that was something that we were scratching our heads, because we knew the wall wasn't built that way. So when we looked at the birdhouse, we sort of tried to find what's the story to tell. And there's a lot of story that could be told about the owners, the progressive-minded, politically active Burton Westcott, his artistically minded and also progressive wife, Orpha, and maybe the birdhouse helps tell some of that story. Also understanding the time that the Westcott House was built. All sorts of things were happening. It was the Roosevelt era. Wildlife sanctuaries were being established. The Boy Scouts of America were being founded, the Girl Scouts were being founded, and the National 4-H was founded right in Springfield, Ohio. So there was this interest in going back and preserving the natural, reconnecting with nature. And it was really a nationwide movement. This is an example of the interest in birdhouses that was generated by this interest in reconnecting with the natural world. And purple martins in particular were sort of the bug zappers of the mid aughts of the century. Here's Henry Ford looking at his estate. And we understood that this was a purple martin house. So our research also included reaching out, in this case, to the Purple Martin Conservancy and understanding what we could about the habits of the birds and how they're sort of tracked. Purple martins are completely, at this point, reliant on human beings for their nesting and migration. We know that Wright was not just connected with nature, he understood also agriculture and the natural world. This is a birdhouse, a dovecote, which Wright had at Taliesin East in Spring Green. So Wright actually did avian projects, birdhouses. He did buildings which had poultry aspects into barns. So he had coops, he had places for nesting and hatching birds. He worked with these, and it's important to remember Wright was a farm boy. He grew up on a farm. He understood agriculture. He understood that deep connection to the natural world. Looking around at his larger work, we also tried to find other examples. This is the Martin House. Now, this is allegedly a birdhouse, which is kind of a finial at the Martin House. It was always confusing the research because we were talking to the Purple Martin Association. We were also talking to the Darwin Martin Conservancy at the same time. This is a drawing for a birdhouse at the William B. Greenhouse in Aurora, and the sketch which shows the birdhouse is remarkably like our birdhouse at the Westcott House. And I even wonder whether this drawing isn't misattributed to the house. It could potentially be part of this house, but I'm not sure what the connection is. This is something that we use to kind of document for ourselves why we wanted to interpret the birdhouse and put it where it was. This is sort of a laundry list that's on the back of the drawing of the dining room table. And the second line says pier by front door. And the fifth line says birdhouse on pier. If you'll remember, that pier at the entryway went all the way up to the to the top of the first floor windows, and it was actually modified. It was made about 5 feet lower, so it only goes up to the sill of those windows. So we surmise that Wright was talking about two things there with those notes to his draftsman, saying make the pier shorter and put the birdhouse on the pier. One of the reasons that we wanted to interpret the house was its scale. If we just showed drawings of this or we showed a model of this, people would never appreciate the size and scale and I think kind of majesty of this wonderful little folly that's by the front door. It also aligns there. One of the debates was well, is this the place that a birdhouse would be? And our research with the Purple Martin Conservancy was yes. Purple martins are fastidious housekeepers, so they leave a clean area around the birdhouse to deter predators. So having it right next to the birdhouse is where it would have been. So that's how we came to the interpretation.
Oh, thank you, David. What a fun design, isn't it? And that drawing with little birds walking up the steps is just the funniest thing. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And
Absolutely.
if everyone can join us for a second, if we can have panelists join in, because we're gonna take what PechaKucha requires us to do is a beer break. So typically, as you know, before 2020, the PechaKucha was only known in person at some fun gathering space where people would hang out and have a drink and talk and share ideas. Since 2020, we've been also in a virtual sphere, which made this possible because you all wonderful people are coming from all different parts of the country. So we want to take opportunity to see again the speakers, to thank our three presenters who are brave enough to start it off.
Nice round of applause. Amazing.
Yes.
Ooh.
So
Thank
good.
you. Thank you so much. And thank you for keeping up with questions. Melissa, thank you for answering. People naturally are very intrigued by your connections to such a family legacy and for your fabulous presentation, and a question about translation of your presentation to share with the students in other countries, which is, interesting thing because we had over 400 people register for this webinar today. And actually there are Canada, Croatia, India, Pakistan, Belize, France, Japan. I can keep going, right? There are a lot of different countries that people are coming from to tune in, which to some is true. I would say, middle of the night. So it's really, really amazing. What do you guys think? This was great. All three very different presentations.
As somebody who's seen a lot of PechaKucha nights, you guys too, you never know what you're gonna get. And it's just, I thought I'd sort of maybe heard, almost every facet of Frank Lloyd Wright, but here's like three more amazing perspectives. That's so, so cool. I don't envy the second. I didn't envy the second speaker and then the third
Oh, come
speaker.
on.
Oh no! Really great job, guys. Amazing, amazing night.
Thank you.
Marta, we still have not had anyone from Antarctica, I want to point out. So I'm really disappointed by the citizens of Antarctica, all, 10 of them?
We
Not citizens, but
challenge
residents.
we challenge participants for the next PechaKucha. We need to do this because every time all continents except that stubborn Antarctica.
Actually, we've had Antarctica. The one we need to go for is the ISS. That's the one that we need to get on. Yeah,
We'll
make
work
that
on
happen. Please.
Can we take a group photo, by the way?
Oh my God, let's do it. Let's do it. Everybody give me their best smile. This is the PechaKucha tradition. We do a bonsai photo. Give us a nice wave. Everybody look right in your cameras. Hey, congratulations. Okay, one more for posterity, just to make sure none of us are blinking. Here we go. One more time. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think we got it. Cheers. Nice. That'll be something we can share later and remember this fun night or morning in my case.
Thank you. We will be looking for questions, but again, Melissa, I can see that you are conversing with a number of people. Thank you for doing that. It's really makes it special. And I know that some of you may be leaving during the second part, so we just want to make sure to thank you. And we'll be in touch because the recording will be available. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. This has been really extraordinary.
Oh, I'm so glad you are here and people can learn about you. And by the way, I do listen to your podcast. I'm not a designer. I may not necessarily need that advice, but I can always take advice about boundaries, clarity. You are amazing. Why don't you do that for museum administrators? We need your podcast for museum administrators. Your podcast is called, can you remind
Design
us?
Business Freedom.
Design Business Freedom. For all the designers out there, make sure to check it out. And Carrie and David, thank you. These are staples of our interpretation of the Westcott House. And I just actually submitted to Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy an article about 20 years of the Westcott House. And that's one of the things that video is what the power of video, of capturing the most dramatic moments of restoration are with us forever and are so helpful to everyone who visits the house. And David, I don't have to say that so many times you help us with our volunteer training. You are the ongoing willingness to help us to make sure that we correctly interpret the house and provide all this information is just incredible. Thank you all. We're gonna go back to our group chat after the next 4 presentations. So should we get going then?
Let's do it.
All right. So we're gonna move on to Diane, and I am so thankful to introduce Diane Ayers, who was a really intricate part of our work on a continued interpretation of the Westcott House, because as she will tell you, one of the challenges with the house that has to be so comprehensively restored, the textiles are not existing. So we had to figure that out, and Diane was the person. So Diane's formal studies in textiles began at Indiana University, where she studied weaving and surface design. Upon completing her bachelor's in conservation and resource studies from the University of California at Berkeley, she met Timothy Hansen, who introduced her to the arts and crafts movement. Returning to her roots, she founded Arts and Crafts Period Textiles, specializing in textiles of the turn-of-the-century design style. Notable projects include textiles for Craftsman Farms, Gamble House, Crabtree Farms, Frank Lloyd Wright's Westcott House, and numerous individual collectors. Diane co-authored American Arts and Crafts Textiles, by Harry Abrams' publisher. Her current focus is on art as a means of environmental awareness. Diane, thank you so much for being here. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Yes.
Wonderful. Let's get going.
Okay. So thank you so much for including me in this event, and I'm really grateful for having been part of the restoration efforts at Westcott House. While the focus of Westcott House is primarily on architecture, simple items such as table linens and bedspreads remind us that the house was actually a home. Textiles add warmth, color, and pattern to a room. The long table linen specified for the dining room is an adaptation of the conventionalized magnolia design originally offered by Gustav Stickley's Craftsman Workshops in 1912. And I'm very grateful to Marta for these beautiful images of the interior of the Westcott House. Craftsman Workshops textile designs have distinctive features apart from other arts and crafts style embroideries from the time. The use of applique, heavy weave fabrics, and rather coarse stitching are typical. Original Stickley textiles are quite rare, and I view myself as somewhat of an apprentice, adapting from the time for what's appropriate today. The crocus design was chosen for the library table. I don't know of any existing antique pieces in this motif, but Stickley's catalog description gives us guidance on fabrics. For the applique, they suggest a green and blue bloom linen, which is where the warp and the weft are different colors. I researched Stickley textiles by visiting the archive of Donald Brothers, the Scottish mill where Stickley purchased yardage. On the left is the mill's in-house sample book showing the bloom linen, and on the right is a sales record book indicating bolts of fabric which Stickley purchased. It's just amazing to see this resource of fabrics in their like-new condition. The Westcott House also needed 4 bedspreads. Typical bedspreads from around 1906 would have been linsey woolsey weavings, damask fabrics, or chenille, but choosing designs from Stickley's Craftsman Workshops would illustrate a homeowner's appreciation for the latest designs and certainly be fitting for a Frank Lloyd Wright home. I don't know of any existing Craftsman Workshops bedspreads, but along with the catalog, Stickley also published designs in Craftsman magazines, and sometimes with somewhat colorful commentary. Quoting this article, they say, especially appropriate for the bedroom is the poppy motif with the suggestion of sleep. Maybe this is a reference to Frank Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, which was published in 1900. The poppies will make them sleep. This was for one of the child's bedrooms. And you can also see that applique is a good technique for filling in large areas of color. For the other child's room, we chose the periwinkle design. And this article also shows variations that you can do table linens, curtains, and portieres, all in hand embroidery. There's no applique, but still the design is fairly simple. And since most antique embroideries that you find from the time now were home crafters making items from kits, Stickley's Craftsman Workshops was making completed items, and so the designs needed to be somewhat simplified. Conventionalized rose motifs were ubiquitous during the arts and crafts design era, Very few designs for textiles can be attributed to a particular designer, but some of them are quite reminiscent of Harvey Ellis inlay designs. The conventionalized road design here was published in 1905, and the designer is unknown, but most likely was aware of the work of Rennie McIntosh and Margaret MacDonald. And you probably noticed that many of these designs were kind of central motifs. In the master bedroom, we wanted to do something special. And this is one of the few Craftsman Workshops bedspread designs where the pattern extends over the pillows. I don't believe this was actually offered for sale by Craftsman Workshops. The design was published in the Craftsman magazine in June 1910. And the article also suggests that you can even make the wicker chair. This one was made by a woman who had learned basketry and shows how the skill in willow working can be applied to simple furniture. So I'm going to stick with embroidery, but and a little bit on the process of doing that is first to calculate the scale, assuming that the sketch was originally to proportion, and making a full-scale pattern and trying some sample stitching. The heavier lines are cording, which is a thread that's held down, and it's called couching, holding it down and stitching it down with another thread. And this is the central panel of the bedspread. And we took the article's suggested colorway of an ivory linen with blue-gray embroidery and 2 shades of green. This is all hand embroidered. And thankfully, at the time of the project, I had a larger staff, including 3 embroideresses. They work much faster than I do. And so it's likely to remain a one-of-a-kind piece from my workshop. It was really wonderful to have the opportunity to create these items for Westcott House. At another historic house museum that I hope you're all aware of, the Stickley Museum at Craftsman Farms, I had the pleasure of creating, along with the local Embroiderers Guild, 2 matching bedspreads for the girls' room. The zinnia design is very likely by Harriet Jor, mostly known for her needlework, her pottery work at Newcomb College. So after you visit the Westcott House and all of the other Frank Lloyd Wright sites, I hope you'll make your way to New Jersey and visit Craftsman Farms. And we also have many online resources as well. We do hope to reconstruct the window curtains and possibly the portieres someday. So this is all to say that textiles are an essential part of a home. Frank Lloyd Wright viewed textiles as integral to his vision of organic architecture. Without textiles, granted, the Westcott House is very impressive, but with textiles, it becomes warm and quite beautiful. And while there's no documentation of Gustav Stickley and Frank Lloyd Wright ever meeting, the restoration of Westcott House seems to be a meeting of their shared design principles. So thank you again, Marta, for these wonderful images, and to everyone for your interest and appreciation of good design and quality craftsmanship.
Diane, thank you. I can't tell you how much it means to have your textiles in a house. It's when we open to the public, it was very clear that it's missing, and people missing the sense of home, because while everything that was documented well through the drawings was meticulously restored, including what David was talking about, the birdhouse. That sense of, the textiles and softer things and interior, some decorative elements bring a sense of home. So
right, yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Yes,
it's just
wonderful.
amazing, and I hope we keep in touch and continue collaborating.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely, yes.
Thank you,
you.
thank you. And we'll connect after the next few presenters. So let's go to the next presentation, which is by Imani Dixon. And I am so glad that we can connect. Imani is from Springfield, Ohio, but now she's in Chicago. So Imani is a licensed architect with a passion for the human experience in the built environment. Prior to moving to Chicago, she volunteered at the Westcott House as a high school student. She later received her Bachelor of Science in Architecture from Bowling Green State University and her Master of Architecture from the University of Cincinnati. During Imani's architecture career, she has gained experience in education, workplace, and community project types. She has also been involved in various mentorship programs related to her profession and involved with the National Organization of Minority Architects. Currently, she's a project manager for exhibits and construction at the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. Imani, thank you for joining us. Let me know if you're ready.
Thanks. Yes, I'm ready.
Fantastic.
So my architect journey started, as many others do, with building and drawing things, especially building things with my hands. When I think back to how I played with Legos, I was already showing an interest in design because I was building my own city and even documenting how it was set up. So when I had to take it down, I could set it back up. Another part of my journey, of course, was volunteering at the Westcott House. I knew I wanted to be an architect early in life, and I was able to have a unique volunteer experience in high school. I'm so proud to have this as my foundation to my journey as an architect and carry the Westcott House vision with me. When I started architecture school, I attended some student conferences and got to travel to many different cities in the Midwest, growing my appreciation for the other architectural gems they contain in Milwaukee, Kansas City, and Columbus, Indiana, all of which are very charming cities. Also, while I was in undergrad, I participated in a study abroad trip in Haiti, where myself and a few other students helped redesign a school that was destroyed in the 2010 earthquake. This was my first trip out of the country, and I was intrigued with the culture and the sustainability strategies that were inherently incorporated into building design. While in grad school, I also had 3 internships, and I was able to experience working in Chicago, San Francisco, and Columbus, Ohio. And I have to say, it's not shown here, but seeing the Bay Bridge every day was a highlight of my internship. While in grad school, I developed an interest in sociology and wanted to combine the two, architecture and sociology, to understand how culture and socioeconomic background influences architectural aesthetics. My thesis project was titled Revealing Identity Through the Lens of Appropriation. After graduating from grad school, I moved to Chicago. I moved here in June, and it was actually my very first time experiencing a Chicago summer. So that's how you know I really like the city, if I only experienced the cold before. One of my favorite things about Chicago is how walkable of a city it is. When I first moved here, I spent so much time exploring different neighborhoods just to look at buildings and outdoor spaces. I love taking people who visit me on the architectural boat tours because it's when they go, oh, okay, I understand why you love this city. I was hired right after graduation at Gensler, where I had done my Chicago internship. I was in a community-focused studio working mostly on higher education and cultural projects, which aligned with my interests. Continuing with my interests in community impact, I joined the National Organization of Minority Architects Illinois chapter, or INOMA, and participated in their Project Pipeline Summer Camp, which is a week-long camp introducing middle school youth to architecture and design. I also became a co-chair of another INOMA initiative called Design Build. This is another longer program for high school-aged youth, and we partner with a nonprofit, youth-focused organization that has a facility in need of redesign or upgrade. Another mentorship program I participated in is called ACE, which is huge in Chicago and gives lots of scholarships to high school students. It was so rewarding to work with students in these programs and watch them grow. I enjoyed witnessing them be inspired to design their own world and built environment. I started working at Lamar Johnson Collaborative in 2021. By this time, I became licensed, and I should have showed a slide showing a bunch of books and paper because that was a major part of my journey as well. But with that, I was able to have more responsibility and lead some amazing projects that won awards within the industry. I also participated in many industry events, going to NOMA conferences every year, meeting with other architects and interior designers in the city, and even modeling for a fashion show where the theme was to design an outfit using interior design materials. I also became involved with the American Institute of Architects, or AIA, Chicago. Something really cool that happened last year also is that I was able to get an IMDb credit for providing architectural sketches for a short film about a young architect. One of the most impactful projects I've worked on to date was this monument in the Inglewood neighborhood. It was one of my favorite projects because it has an impact on so many people than a typical architecture project and is easily accessible public art, and visitors from everywhere can experience it. Now I want to show some photos of some recent trips I've been on which align with my architectural journey. The Portland Japanese Garden in Portland, Oregon. The Japanese influence reminded me of Frank Lloyd Wright and the cultural influence that is evident in his work. Last year, I also visited Taliesin East. I was so impressed with the building designs, but also the beautiful outdoor spaces, which I honestly didn't expect in Wisconsin. This brought me back to volunteering at the Westcott House. I love the combination of architecture and nature and how one enhances the other. And this is more Taliesin. I love being in spaces that ignite curiosity and wonder. I love how there is something to see in every single corner of these buildings. The interior is incredible, as well as the intentionally framed views to the outside. And that brings me to my current adventure, which is working at the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry, incorporating so many things I enjoy and value as an architect, designer, and human: design, connection, and creativity. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to reflect on my journey after almost 17 years after volunteering at the Westcott House. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Imani. What a great journey. And it's just a reminder how this gift of restoration that happened 20 years ago is really something that we need to share with others, including young interns who then, I mean, you take it to really a new level with your engagement with youth and really being an activist. To grow interest also in the field, so it gets a little richer than it used to be, because let's be honest, it belonged not only to just white folks, but mostly male dominated trade profession. So it's incredible, and I'm so glad you're in Chicago. You are just around the corner from Eric and his office, the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. So you are in good
That's
company.
great. Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for
Oh,
remembering me after all these years
oh
too.
my goodness. I love going back and hearing the stories, because it's always interesting where people are and what they up to. So let's connect after the next couple presentations. We're going to continue with Andy, and then mine, and then we're going to connect with everyone. So the next presenter will be Andy Hayes. And Andy is the principal and chief creative officer for Huckleback Design Studio. He is an award-winning creative director, graphic designer, and illustrator with over 20 years of experience in branding and promotional marketing. Clients' work has included large brands such as the University of Notre Dame, American Eagle, Hollister, and Abercrombie & Fitch, as well as many small businesses. Over the last 20 years, Andy also held teaching positions with the Columbus College of Art and Design, Cedarville University, and the School of Advertising Art, teaching graphic design and typography. Andy has a bachelor's in advertising and graphic design from the Columbus College of Art and Design. Andy, are you ready?
Let's do this.
All right.
I began working with Marta in the Westcott House in the winter of 2005. So we're looking back at 20 years in our engagement as well. And we've collaborated on various projects over that time. It's hard to believe it's been 20 years already. Our partnership started essentially with designing posters for events that were held at the house. One of my favorite things about the house, just being local to Westcott House, is its accessibility and the fact that it serves as a creative hub for our smallish community here. These are a few posters that we designed. This Lillian Gish is a native to Springfield, so that was a film festival. Work Song is a play that was performed and presented at the Westcott House in 2007. Pictured here, you might recognize Marta on the left. On the right-hand side, that's myself and my wife, Nicole. And on the left, Marta and Kevin. Roughly 2009. And the reason I put this in is we've had a long partnership. But over that time, we've built a really great friendship as well. So it's just, I'm so happy that they're in Springfield. In 2008, we began working on a series of promotional posters and campaigns, one of which was called Westcott's Neighborhood. That was a presentation event for architecture students at Miami University in Ohio, heavily influenced by one of Wright's biggest influential figures, Friedrich Froebel. The neighborhood poster uses the idea of the cut strips of paper to create typography for the lettering, while incorporating the illustration of the neighborhood idea within it. It's one of my favorite pieces that we've worked on together. In the meantime, probably 2008 to 2012, the house was home to many creative events, including art shows, a lot of parties, and even the first PechaKucha. I knew I was going to biff that. Westcott event back in 2009, I think. This also included the opportunity to share some of our studio work in 2010 alongside Springfield native and musician Griffin House, there on the right. But again, the accessibility and the creative cultural hub of the house has always been one of my favorite parts about it. In 2013, we worked with Marta and her team on a branding project for the house overall. So up to that point, it was kind of just one-off posters and things like that. In 2013, we worked through the whole brand project. And they had also added the Center for Architecture and Design. So inspired by Wright, as well as the Westcott car, we wanted to create a brand that felt distinct to Westcott. You know, as opposed to sort of being so tied back to the Wright brand. We wanted it to feel unique and distinct. We created a brand hierarchy with variations of each mark to identify the sub-brands to the house. So the house itself has a lockup and a mark. The center has a mark that sort of leans into the automobile elements of the house and the history of the house. The mark for the house itself kind of draws from the awning in the front of the house. The color palette as well pulls from the house and the automotive history as well. That's one of my favorite parts of the house, is that there's so many interesting visual references to sort of mix together. So the new brand included just an overall visual brand expression that allowed us to create materials that essentially all had the same DNA. So whether it was a postcard or a poster, the materials, we wanted to make sure they all felt related, but still established opportunities to have unique image treatments and things like that, as you can kind of see on these posters. Opportunities for distinction, but again, a brand that was firm in its foundation. Since 2013, we've worked with Marta on countless pieces, honestly, and website development to build the Westcott brand that exists today. Our goal is to approach things with the curiosity and invention that Wright brought to his work. Expressive typography, image experimentation, even paper choice. You know, the one thing that I really intentionally try to do every time we work on a project is kind of seeing it through his lens and making sure that we're honoring his creativity in the work that we try to do for the house. So again, on this slide, you can kind of see a lot of the different variations of pieces from over the years. The 10-year mark from 10 years ago. We worked through a lot of different cultural times together. Obviously, COVID-19. It took creativity from Marta's side to stay engaged with the community. We were helped her work on the idea of Westcott at your house. And honestly, it kind of paved the way to some of the stuff that we're looking at today. Volunteers at Westcott House, like most of the other site museums, are critical. So we're always looking for opportunities to allow them to feel some ownership of the house. And this was a piece of branding that we did for an email communication specifically for them. We even made it through the solar eclipse last year, in which we were in the strip of totality, and had a lot of fun with that one. I think as a shared community event, I think Mr. Wright would have gotten a kick out of that as well. So as we commemorate 20 years of Westcott, honestly, for me personally, it's been some of the most fulfilling work that I've done over the last 20 years. It's been a joy to see the house grow and take on a life of its own as a creative hub in town. And yeah, here's to 20 more.
Thank you, Andy, so much. This is like a legacy created along the legacy, a legacy of a designer who has done so much for us. And I always feel that, you know, organizations like ours should really actively pursue work with designers, because that's what we believe in, right? In the creativity and continuing communication that reaches people on an emotional level. And that's what you helped us accomplish over the years. And I think people always tell us how they love consistency of design and strong presence when we mail things and we do things in cohesive way because of the language you developed and because of your incredible talent. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're gonna connect after this one more thing, which I'm afraid it's gonna be rather clunky, guys, but I couldn't help myself, mainly because I did want to pay tribute to Amy Calloway, who created beautiful finishes on a wall of the Westcott House. Without this work is present everywhere in this house. It was one of the most extensive work that was done during the restoration. Really treacherous work, because it's not only walls, it's also woodwork. So, but I'm actually I should probably start because I'm adding time.
Marta, is
so
no one introducing you?
no, people can be spared of the introduction to me, don't you think?
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
I think we are fine, and I think I'm ready. Our society is spending increasingly more time on social media. I think of increased temptation to fix every perceived imperfection with a filter. AI smoothing our skin, changing the color of our eyes, even reshaping the outline of our face. How very tempting it is to augment to reality to what some algorithm tells us is a better version of ourselves. This ever-present sharing of all kinds of fakes reinforces the idea that this fake perfect is somehow something we should all aspire to. I asked ChatGPT if I could please fix imperfections in this photo. I asked politely, hoping it would just respond, "No need, you are perfect the way you are." Instead, it responded with two better options. I guess I should just be happy it did not take me out of the picture. I then asked ChatGPT to fix imperfections in this picture. Now it's interesting that AI sees what AI sees as imperfections. Just like wrinkles in our faces, it identifies variations of the color on the wall as a less preferred reality. The problem is, of course, that any imperfections of the walls are history being preserved. Okay, ChatGPT, let's pick a less imperfect wall. Nope, AI still finds a way to improve it. Would it be better, in your opinion? Now, just for fun, I took a photo from before the restoration at Westcott and asked what would this room look like if restored? Please, God, don't let AI run restoration projects. So you just saw the condition of the walls before the restoration. I don't know what you think of the fake options, but I certainly know what Amy Calloway, pictured here, the person responsible for restoring original encaustic finish, would think. Amy said, if all walls were exactly the same tone, you would lose the element of the artistic, handcrafted ambience of the home. When I'm finished, I don't want the walls to look newly constructed and uniform. But what is encaustic in the first place? The encaustic finishes of the Westcott House are quite unique in that the paint seen on the walls throughout the home is made of wax. Dating back 2,000 years, wax was one of the first mediums used as a means of binding pigment. Stemming from the Greek word enkaustikos, the term encaustic means to burn, which describes the process of using heat to fuse layers of molten wax mixed with pigment. We are often pointed to ancient art like this one from the Met collection, even though the scholars debate the exact method used in the Egyptian portraits. But it definitely consists of wax. Or you may recall the art of Jasper Johns and his flag from 1954. The artist used a cut bedsheet, oil paint, and encaustic. He dipped strips of cloth and newsprint into the hot wax, then affixed them to the sheet to fill in a penciled outline of the US flag. At Westcott, once the years of modern paint had been carefully removed from the remaining walls, sometimes as many as 30 layers, it was easier to get a better look at the original intention of the finishes. Paying close attention to the living areas of the home, one could see that the walls don't quite match in shade or tone, which indicates the paint was made by hand, batch by batch. There was also a definite model look to the walls, which told the artist that there was most likely more than one color used to achieve the overall effect. There is no documentation of the original paint recipe used in this particular home. However, through chemical analysis, it was learned that the finishes were made from paraffin wax. The pigment analysis of the original paint indicated natural earth pigments were used. Unfortunately, many of the original wall treatments were lost when the home was divided into apartments. The walls have been patched, painted, partitioned, and some removed completely. Even though the home has been restored, its history and age is most evident upon close examination of the walls. The walls of the Westcott House are comprised of 4 fused layers of encaustic paint. The finishes were applied by hand using hog hair brushes, much like what would have been used in the early 1900s. To maintain the historic accuracy, the artist mixed the paint by hand, batch by batch, replicating the original ingredients discovered through chemical analysis. Since no 2 batches were exactly alike, she would study the color of each paint and then add tints appropriately. Thus, each wall will have a slightly different tone, intentionally. Sometimes our visitors seem to wish for a more perfect, more consistent wall treatment. If I'm perfectly honest, I have had those thoughts too. After all, no one is immune to the ideas of picture perfect that we are spoon-fed on a daily basis. And that is where the museums have a role, working on making people less uncomfortable with a rugged history of ours, be it this country, other countries, or a tumultuous life of this one special home. Let's go back to no filter, no augmentation. Let's preserve the history because that is the only way to improve the conditions for the humankind. After all, all our imperfections remind us and assure us of our humanity. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I think we are ready for everyone to come back, and we're gonna stop sharing and rejoin and thank everyone for being here and making it a special event for the Westcott House and for the Frank Lloyd Wright community. Thank you, thank you. What do you guys think?
Great, so interesting, everyone's presentations.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've met some of you over the years, but it was cool to have everybody on the same panel that have had such an impact on the house and everything over the years. The embroidery and all of the linen work was really cool.
It
Yeah.
really just shows what a huge community it takes to restore and then operate a place like the Westcott House. That's so inspiring to see that.
Yes, it's selection of I was there are so many more people, right, who could share their personal stories, and we wanted to kind of balance it with the moments of restoration and then what happened since then. But there is so much more to share. So any questions out there? I don't know if I completely lost track of questions.
There was just one about whether Andy had worked on the 20-year logo for Westcott. And Andy?
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's the
The urn with the zero.
yeah, the 20th anniversary logo. Yeah, yeah. And I have to say, Andy's work is kind of, like a fantastic segue also to say I'm so excited for Conservancy to adopt a new logo. It's a very bold move, and it's really quite remarkable. And I remember how when we work through logos are like one of the toughest things because people are so emotional about them for good reasons. It's like it's supposed to encapsulate everything, yet it really doesn't, but people are attached. So I know that we went through that a number of reiterations, and it's interesting how people need to process that. So I hope you guys saw it. I hope you like it. If you don't, give it some time. That's all I can say, because those kind of things we need to like process and.
Yeah, it's been less than a week, but we're looking forward to having some fun with it. I think it presents us with a lot of design possibilities to maybe start being almost as clever as Andy and Marta, your work has been for the Westcott House.
Oh, well, thank you. And I know that you have an event coming up on February 4th, I believe, or sometime soon, when the designers will be sharing the inspiration behind it. So check it out, guys. For everyone who's here, we're going to be following up with some links to what speakers talked about, and also, with some upcoming events. Any reflections from anyone else?
Just thank you again. It's really, and it's so wonderful to see the other trade people, the work that it all goes into it. So I'm going to have to come visit one of these days.
You must. You must.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so cool just as a local to the house to see, to be sort of experiencing it day to day. From that perspective, it's been really cool.
Yeah, I absolutely love these presentations. It's wonderful to see so many different creative people and how they've either played a role in it or how the house has impacted them. And to know that the people on the screen are still just a small portion of everyone that it's taken through the years that have put their creative energies into this house in one way or another. It really is extraordinary.
I could watch that documentary probably back to back 10 times in a row. The tour video is great. So great.
Marta has that song in her head. I think she wakes up in the middle of the night with that music going on repeatedly. And I'm sure Carrie lived with it a lot as they're editing the video. As someone who's worked on video, you hear the music over and over and over. But now it plays at Westcott every day. How many times a day, Marta? What? Six
Oh
times a
yeah,
day. So
sometimes we hear it. Yes, yes, and it's ingrained in my brain, that's for sure. But it's a nice music, so thank you for
it is very
selecting
nice.
something pleasant, Carrie. Oh, well. Thank you all. We will have Brian will put his magic touch on getting these to kind of slice them up individually so people can go to the PechaKucha website and watch individual presentations, as well as, of course, we have it on YouTube as a live stream. So
Marta,
yeah.
quick question before you close up. Someone asked, Dan asked what video, and this would be the video, the documentary of the Westcott House by the amazing team. And is there a spot people can watch that online, or they just have to make it to Westcott and watch it, right?
Well, we have a link to the abbreviated version on the online, and actually Carrie is working on, it's been 20 years, so he had a brilliant idea of kind of looking at the footage and helping to adjust it some. So he's been experimenting with tools that are available today to make it to make it into format that is current. So that's a part of the challenge, right, with film industry, Carrie, that it's changed. Technology is ever changing. So
Extended cut.
I just want to say on behalf of PechaKucha and the global audience, because that's our kind of role here at PKHQ in Tokyo, is to broadcast this, story on the global stage. And it's been so interesting to see like this local creativity and how much investment. I know you guys are coming from different, not necessarily all Westcott, but like it's great to see how hard you guys have worked and how much you've creativity and community you've cultivated around this story of this amazing home. And congratulations. It's wonderful. I'm very, very moved by all the stories tonight. I've seen heaps of wonderful presentations tonight. So blown away. Best PK night ever. Don't tell any of the other previous Wright Site events. But thank you to everybody who's been tuning in.
Uh-oh, we lost Brian.
From all over the world. It really is a giant privilege. Megaphone. We're going to broadcast this far and wide. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Just thank you.
That's
just thank you so much.
Thank you. And and the role, as always, of Frank Lloyd Wright House is to be a magnet to maybe intrigue people and then really open it up to a bigger world of architecture. So again, thank you, Imani, for doing the work, and if Westcott if Westcott played a tiny role in your inspiration, that's a huge win. So
certainly did. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I feel lucky to be from Springfield, Ohio, where the Westcott House is. And like I said, there's a lot of hidden gems in the Midwest, so it's very underrated.
Absolutely. We are totally on the same page. Well, shall we go? I said, shall we go to bed? I don't
Let's
think
give
it's time
ourselves
yet,
one
but
more round of applause. Everybody did really
For
good.
Marta for pulling us all
It was a
together.
great night.
Go to bed. Brian has a full work day ahead of him. He
Just
can't
keep
go
my
to
day
bed.
going.
The
Maybe
morning, yeah. Go to work,
I'll have a
Brian.
mid-morning second breakfast, something like
Oh,
that.
there you go. There you go.
Oh, well,
Fun,
thank you. Thank you to our audience. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your kind notes in the chat. If you have any recommendations for the future, please let us know. And we are so thankful for you joining. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. All the best to you. Bye-bye.